Welcome to Knitting Step by Step, the video podcast that teaches you how to knit. I'm your host, Jason Block.
And I'm your knitting instructor, Ivy Reisner.
This is episode 2, the cast on. Last week, we told you what materials you should have by now and what project we're working on. Ivy, remind the viewers what we're going to do.
We're working on a garter stitch scarf, and by now you should have a pair of size 8 US 5mm knitting needles and about 400 yards, 400 meters of a worsted weight yarn.
Such as this. Now, you told me earlier that there are literally hundreds of ways to cast on. Shouldn't there be just one universal one that everybody can learn?
Would be nice, but there's different ways to cast on for different effects. If you want a very stretchy edge, you're going to have a cast on different than if you want a very firm, decorative edge. There are also a few specialty cast ons, such as the figure 8 cast on, which is good for sock toes because it allows you to knit from both sides at once, and the provincial cast on, which allows you to remove the cast on edge and make those stitches live later on.
Now, that is for, of course, expert knitters, but right now the people who are watching right now are beginners and don't know it yet. But right now, how many different cast-on methods are you going to teach us today?
Today, 4.
Okay, so now, if you'll explain to me and the viewers out there, for the first one, which is called a long tail cast-on, what the long tail means and how you get that long tail.
Okay, the tail of the yarn is basically the stuff on the side of the project that's not the working yarn, which is the connection to the ball. You want to start a long tail cast on by pulling a long tail of yarn. Now, normally that will be about 3 times the width of the edge of your project. So if you're casting on for 10 inches, you want to pull a 30-inch tail. For this, it's simple to just pull basically 2 cubits. Wrap the yarn around your arm, and when it comes back to the thumb, pull a little bit beyond that, and call this your tail, and this your working yarn.
Now, in about a minute, we're going to show in a close-up view how you cast on the long tail and the 3 other basic cast-ons, and we're going to go into the first part of knitting, which is, of course, the knit stitch. Now we're about to go into the 4 different methods of casting on. The first one's called the long tail. Ivy, show us what you got.
Okay. You take your yarn, you make a loop, you pull the working yarn across the back, bisecting the loop, you pull that strand through, and you put it on your needle, pulling close but not too tight. And that's your basic slip knot. All your cast-ons are going to start that way. Now, you're going to take your thumb and forefinger and put it in this V that's forming here. The tail goes over your thumb, the working yarn goes over your forefinger, your other 3 fingers close on both strands. Pull the needle back a little bit, and you can see you've got another V. I'm going to show you what we're going to do. Then I'm going to explain a little bit about how it's working, and then I'm going to show it to you again. So, you take your needle, you put it in the strand that's around your thumb in the same way that the thumb is addressing the yarn. Go over the strand that's around your pointer, under again, through the thumb loop, take the thumb out, pull it not too tight but closed, and return to your starting position. The goal is to create a loop with this yarn and pull it through this loop. And if you think about how you would do that with your hands, well, you would reach in, you would grab it, you would pull it. You're doing the same thing with your needle. You're going to go in, you're going to grab this loop, you're going to pull it back out, and then you're just going to take your thumb out and finish it. Again, you're going to go in, over, under, around, take your thumb out, pull it closed.
One more time.
In, over, under, take your thumb out,
and
pull it closed.
Right. Now, what you said it's the most difficult, but it's the best one. Why?
It's a very stretchy cast on, and it makes a beautiful edge.
Okay. So now take the needle and just make here's your working yarn. And we'll go to the second one, which is called the knit on, cast on. Why is it called that?
Because you're using the knit stitch to cast on, pretty much.
Show us.
Start with about 5 or 6 inches of a tail, and you're going to do that same slip knot again. Make a loop, bisect it with your working yarn, pull the working yarn through, put it on your needle, and pull it not too tight. You're going to need your second needle for this. And you're going to put your second needle into the loop in the same direction that the first needle is addressing it. Wrap your yarn around your finger for tension, but not too much. You don't want to pull too tight. And you're going to pull this around the needle so that it goes under and back, and then up, and then over and forward again. Pull that new loop forward through the stitch and put it on that first needle. Again, in, around, through, and put it on that first needle. In, around, through, and put it on that first needle.
One more time.
In, around, through, and put it on that first needle.
Now, what are the advantages and disadvantages of this particular method of casting on?
Once you've done a row of knit on cast on, you've done a row of knitting. It is a stretchy cast on, not quite as stretchy as the long tail. It does make a very nice edge. And when you've learned this method of casting on, you've pretty much learnt your knit stitch.
But we've got 2 more to go. The third one is called the cable cast on. Show us why.
Okay. You're going to start pretty much the same as your knit on cast on. At about 5 or 6 inches of tail, make a loop, bisect the loop with your working yarn from behind, pull the working yarn through, put it on the needle, and pull it closed but not tight. It's your slip knot. Now this first stitch looks exactly like the knit on cast on. Come in, wrap the yarn around your hand for tension, back, around, over and forward, pull it through, put it on the needle. Here's where things get different. Instead of going into the stitch, what you're going to do is you're going to go between the 2 stitches.
And what does that do?
It makes a more twisted edge. It makes a very beautiful cable-y sort of an edge, but it makes a very firm, not at all stretchy edge.
Continue.
Wrap the yarn same as for the knit on cast on. Come through the same way. Put it on the needle. Again, in between the 2 stitches, around, pull it through and forward, put the stitch on the needle.
One more time.
In between the 2 stitches, around, through, and put it on the needle.
Okay, so we've seen 3.